Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles. And today we are looking at something that is very different to what we normally look at. We are looking at a fan-produced Doctor Who annual, which is based on the very first season of Doctor Who. Now, as you all know, Doctor Who, a British television serial, it started in 1963, and for the classic series it ran right up until 1989. There were 7 doctors to play the Doctor during that period, that original period of what we now call the classic Doctor Who. And for most of those years there was annuals produced. However, there was also years when annuals wasn't produced, where they missed them or they finished doing them. So what the fans have done, they've decided to try and fill the gaps in these missing annuals. So they have produced unofficial Doctor Who annuals to fill in the gaps where no annual was produced for that particular year. So this particular annual we're looking at is the 1965 one, which, had the BBC decided to do the annuals a year earlier, it would have been released in 1964, I should say, for the 1965 upcoming year. And it would have looked something like this particular annual we're about to look at. But just to give you a brief history brief background on the unofficial annuals. As I say, they were produced by fans for fans, and they were self-published annuals. The first one we're looking at today, or the one we're looking at today, is of what would have been the very first annual. Now, in 1972, there was also no annual produced, which should have been the second John Pertwee annual. However, they didn't produce one in 72. The next one wasn't out until 1973. So again, there's an unofficial fan-made Doctor Who annual for 1972. And then again, in 1987, which would have been, I think, probably Colin Baker's last, or the missing years, we should say, the year when the TV series was in a hiatus and it was taken off air. So there was no annual produced for that year either. However, again, there is an unofficial Doctor Who annual, fan produced. And again in 1988, when the serial came back, again there was no more annuals produced. The last actual official annual was released in late 1985 for 1986 year. And after that, there wasn't any more official annuals produced while the TV series was running. But anyway, so they did the 1987, and then of course there was a 1988, and the 1988 one was a combination between Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy, and that was for the 1988 year. And then again, the final one would have been the 1989, the last season that starred Sylvester McCoy, and that was the last of the unofficial annuals that was produced. So in altogether, there was, I think, 5 unofficial annuals that was unproduced. Now, somebody also told me that they did do one in 1997 for the Paul McGann years, but I've never seen one of those, so I'm not 100% sure whether that was produced or not. But the ones that I know about is the ones we've just been talking about. Anyway, let's not digress any further, because we are going to be looking at this particular one, which I say, had the BBC decided to do the annual earlier, this would have been produced in late 1964 for the upcoming 1965 year. So this is the front cover of the annual, and it says the Doctor Who annual is based on the exciting new BBC television serial starring William Hartnell. And there you can see an image of William Hartnell as a Doctor, dressed in his classic Doctor Who clothing as he wore in the TV series. And behind him you can see the TARDIS with an alien that's surrounding her tentacles around the craft. Okay, that's the front cover. Let's just spin it over to the back and see what we got on the back. So there we go. On the back, we've got an image of William Hartnell, and it looks like he's just looking through the time vortex, the swirling circles of purple and gold. And let's have a look at the spline. So it's the Doctor Who annual, and it's got Whirled Distributors here, not World Distributors, Whirled Distributors. So instead of W-O-R-L-D, it's W-H-I-R-L-E-D, Whirled Distributors. And that's what they've called themselves for the manufacture of this book. I've got to say, though, I mean, even though this is an unofficial, unauthorised annual, I've got to say it's very, very good and very well done. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Let's open it up and let's have a look inside. Okay, so I've opened the annual and I've come to the first couple of pages blank, and then I've come to the next couple of pages, and there you can see you've got a couple of images of William Hartnell as the Doctor, and the Doctor standing by the TARDIS. Very, very similar to the Walt Howard images, who was originally the artist for the Doctor Who annuals back in the 1960s. Okay, so that's the first two pages. And let's move over, and there we have the front of the beginning of the book, and it says copyright MCMLX1V, which is 1964, and this is by the British Broadcasting Company, all rights reserved throughout the world, published in Great Britain by Whirled Distributors UK Limited, which is 76 Totters Lane, London East 1. Of course it is. By arrangements with the British Broadcasting Company, and it's printed and bound in England by J.M. Foreman and Sons Limited. Okay, so there's some nice little links to Doctor Who. So obviously 76 Totters Lane was where the very first episode of Doctor Who, where the TARDIS was parked, and that's where they lived while they was on Earth. In the TARDIS, and J.M. Foreman at the bottom here, well, that was the name that was on the scrapyard, and of course Susan was known as Susan Foreman because of the name on the scrapyard. Okay, it says Doctor Who Annual, and here again you've got that nice classic style image of William Hartnell at the controls of the TARDIS. Now, I mean, this annual has never been read. It was part of some annuals that we bought out of a shop. I don't know how it got in there. I do know that the owner was a very big Doctor Who fan, and when they were having deliveries of the Doctor Who annuals, he would always keep one for himself and pop it into the back stock room. So over the course of years, he collected pretty much every single Doctor Who annual. And, well, he never did anything. We've just left them in the back. And, of course, when they decided to retire, we went in and bought out all their stock, including the stock in the back. But amongst them was quite a few of these unauthorised annuals, and this was particularly one of them. So it had been bought, put into the back there, and never been opened or read. So, hence the reason why the pages are not staying open. They are trying to close because of the fact that the book has never been opened before. So it says contents: Return to Earth. Just who is Doctor Who? The Space Boy. All in a day's work. A step too far. Expedition into death. The Cosmic Collector. Echoes from the past. The TARDIS. Miracle of science. Slaves of the Elgolons. The Mutineers. The Haunted Mountain. Invasion of the Humans. Snow Day. The Red Tide. Luana's Song. The Robot Parasites. And Journey's End. So there we are, and it's 156 pages, this annual, so it's much more pages than what was in the original annuals as well. So it's quite a thick book, and it's nice glossy paper, and the artwork is very good, and it's not cheap nasty paper that you got in the early annuals. Okay, so the first story, Return to Earth, and that is a full story with colour illustrations. That's 5, 6 to 7. It's great artwork. 7, 9 pages, 10 pages, I should say. But again, I mean, this artwork is very, very good. I've got to say, for fan-based production, it's, I think, very, very good. Absolutely excellent. Just who is Doctor Who? And that's a couple of pages on who he actually is. And then we come on to the next story, which is the Space Boy. And again, these are all full colour, full stories with colour illustrations. And that runs from page 19 to page 26. So that's 7 pages. All in a day's work. That's, I'm not quite sure what it is. The man behind who. Oh, so that's a mock-up interview of William Hartnell. And then we come on to the next story, which is A Step Too Far. And again, a full story with colour illustrations. Again, the illustrations are just absolutely superb. And then we come on to Doctor Who's crossword of time and space. And the solution is at the rear of the book. And it says a shooting star is the first clue on 3 across. 6 across, 1805, naval battle in which Admiral Lord Nelson was killed. I think that's the Battle of Trafalgar. But anyway, that's quite a good crossword to do. And then we're on to the next story, which is Expedition into Death. Again, it is a full story with colour illustrations. Again, very nice illustrations. And that is 8 pages. 10, 12. It's quite a long story, this one. 13 pages long, that one. And then we come into In History. If readers in Great Britain are already familiar with the name of Roald Amundsen, there will be as the rival explorer who pipped the doomed Captain Robert F. Scott to be the first man to reach the South Pole in 1911, 33 days before his ill-fated British counterpart. Anyway, and that's all about main things in history. And then we're on to the first comic strip, and I've got to say this comic strip is fabulous. Great looks, artwork images of William Hartnell and the other characters, and obviously the TARDIS. And it's called The Cosmic Collector, and that runs for only 4 pages, but it's a very, very good little comic strip. And then we come from Echoes from the Past, and again, a full story with colour illustrations. And that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 pages. Not so good illustrations on that particular story. Don't quite know why, but there we are. And then we got the TARDIS, The Miracle of Science, and I think that's all about the TARDIS, and that just runs for 2 pages. And then we got a little game there. Doctor Who was enjoying his visit to the planet Invisa. The atoms of everything there absorb light, meaning that nothing could be seen by the naked eye. But when he heard something approaching, Doctor Who quickly fled back to the TARDIS to see what scared him, shade in all the shapes that contain a dot. And there you can see there's a few, well, if you can make that out, there's a few monsters in the background. Slaves of the Alcalans, again, a full story with lovely colour illustrations in this one. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pages on that one. And then we've got Doctor Who's Optical Enigmas. And it says some things can appear very different depending on your point of view. 2 drinking glasses standing on the tray. Yeah, makes sense. An elephant peering over a fence. Identical pictures of Doctor Who, one the right way up and one upside down. Now turn the page upside down and look again. Interesting optical enigmas they are. Anyway, on to the next page, next story, and it is the Mutineers, full story with colour illustration, I should say. And it's 4, 6, 8, 9 pages again, and the more information in history. And then we're on to the Haunted Mountain, and again, excellent illustrations. Full story. And this is quite a long one as well. 10 pages, that one. 11 pages, actually. And then we got Invasion of the Humans. Interesting. Again, good artwork. Full story. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 pages on that. And then we come on to another comic strip story, which is Doctor Who. Cold, very cold. Well, it doesn't say a title there. But there we are. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of comic strip, colour comic strip. Very good artwork again. So it's all got that feel of the classic annuals from the 1960s. And there's some more Doctor Who's optical enigmas. And then we go on to the Red Tide. Again, another full story with colour illustrations. Very good images again, I have to say. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pages. That's a great image. 12 pages on that story. More information in the history. And then we got Lavanna's Song. And again, great illustrations again on this full story. And that's 3 pages. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages on that one. And then we come on to more of Doctor Who's optical enigmas. And then we've got the robot parasites, which I think is the last story. But again, it's a full story with colour illustrations. Again, great illustrations for the time. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 9 pages on that one. And then this is the final story, Journey's End. And again, it is full story with colour illustrations. Actually, I said this book was 156 pages, but it's more than that because the last story is on page 156. So we've got 2, 4, 6. He looks a bit like Kurt Douglas, doesn't he? 8. Maybe he was based on Kurt Douglas. 10, 12. So 13 pages there. And then we have the crossword solution. So we were at 169 pages, anything after that. And then it's the same pages as we had at the front of the book. And then on the very last page, you've got the credits. So it was written, drawn and edited in 2021 by David May, with the following contributions greatly received from. And there's a whole list of people that contributed to this annual. And it says, with thanks also to Scott Burrett, Mark Morgan and Richard Morant for their support and advice. The book is unofficial and unauthorised and is strictly not-for-profit publication, produced by fans for fans. Doctor Who remains copyright of the British Broadcasting Company, dedicated to the memories of William Hartnell and Walt Howarth, and it's the first edition. Okay, and that brings us to an end of the annual. Okay, well, I mean, asking me how well this annual did is really, well, I don't know. I don't know how many were produced. It was fan produced until a few years ago. 4 years ago, none of these fan annuals existed. This one was produced in 21. Unfortunately, so I don't know the numbers that were produced. I can tell you that they very, very rarely appear anywhere. I don't know if you had to be part of a Doctor Who group, or maybe the Appreciation Society or something like that, to be able to order one of these, or whether it was one of those schemes where you help them finance it by making a contribution to the book, and then when it's all done and printed, you receive a copy based on what your because you made a contribution to the production of the book. I really don't know. I really can't find much information about these. There's not a great deal of information online, but yeah, I mean, I think it is a fantastic annual. If it was, I suppose, to be more authentic, it would need to be in the same kind of paper that they used back in the 1960s. Whether you can still get that type of paper anymore, I do not know. Probably not, in actual fact. But the artwork is so good, based on the Walt Howarth artwork from the 1960s. I think it's very, very well done. I say, for a fan-produced annual, I think it's excellent. So, how often do these annuals come up on the platforms? Well, I'll be absolutely honest with you, they hardly ever. I did a search on the platforms and I couldn't find any of this particular annuals anywhere. I searched the internet and I think I found one article on this particular annual. And then, of course, on the Doctor Who annual site, I did find an image of it on there. But other than that, I couldn't find anything else anywhere about these annuals. So, no, they really don't appear on the platforms. Not this particular one, anyway. Some of the others did, don't get me wrong. Some of the later ones, the Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy ones, did appear. And I think I did see one. Yeah, I did. I saw a master one. And also what would be an omnibus edition, a bit like the big Doctor Who Journey in Time book that was done, and the Adventures in Time book that was done, which is a correlation of stories from the earlier annuals. So quite possibly, so I've seen those online, one or two of those pop up online, but again, very, very few and far between. They do not seem to come up very often at all. As I say, I did search the internet. I couldn't find this one at all. However, yes, you know it, we at Midas Touch, we do happen to have this particular annual, but it is the only one we have. And it is today, as of today, available to purchase on the Midas Touch website. But, as I say, we've only got the one. Don't expect it to be around very long. So if it is something that you want, I suggest you don't hang around. Get onto the website and order it ASAP, because I'm sure it's going to be gone very quickly. And you get to the website very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight there, where you'll be able to find this and many, many other vintage Doctor Who annuals, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes onto the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful, ultra rare Doctor Who annual with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.